Hello and welcome back to the full-on actual apocalypse. You know what I say, it's always, you might as well learn how to animate better. You may have noticed that you can't see me right now in this video, which you have been able to in the previous ones. It's no big deal, I have just ceased to exist in a physical form, and that's just the reason. So today I'm going to be talking about masks, using masks in ToonBoom Harmony Essentials, or at least what are called masks in every other program ever. So if you've ever used Photoshop or any video editing program, you know what a mask is. For whatever dumb reason in ToonBoom it's called a cutter, which is the one thing that just really annoys me because, of course, as we know, there's already a tool called the cutter, which is right in here. And so this is not to be confused with the cutter tool, because, of course, if I draw something then use the cutter tool, I can select certain parts of it. That's what that does. But the cutter effect is a completely different thing, and that does what a mask would do in Flash or Photoshop or anything like that. So we're going to talk about how to use, I'm just going to call them masks because I'm defiant that way. And whoever decided to change the name, I hope they have a bad life at home. So basically, a mask, if you don't know what it is an effect that makes it so that a certain object, it's basically, the easiest way to think of it is like the little circle fade out that happens at the end of a lot of Looney Tunes. It makes it so that you can only see a certain part of something. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm just going to quickly draw, just a squiggle. It really doesn't matter what it is. And this is going to serve as the background. So this is the normal, this is the cartoon. You're going to have to use your imagination for that one. And then I'm going to create a new drawing layer, and I'm just going to call it mask. And this is going to be the shape that we will, I guess, cut out of this drawing. I guess that's why it's called the cutter, but still, it's bad. So I'm just going to do a simple circle. I'm going to make sure I have this button on right here, which means that it's colored in rather than just an empty circle. And I'm just going to do it red because you're not going to be able to see it anyway by the end. And I just want it to be easily distinguishable. So what I'm doing right now to get this to be centered in a perfect circle is just holding down Option and Shift. So there we go. And what I want this to do is, I don't want this circle to be visible. I just want it to cut out the shape in the layer beneath it. So what you have to do is click on the shape that you want to alter, or the drawing that you want to cut out of, and you click this little plus button, you go down to Effects, and then click on the cutter right here, and it adds this little effect layer inside the drawing layer called the cutter. And then you're going to want to hit this little plus button right here, and you can see it says drop layer right here. So this is where you want to drag and drop the layer that is the cutter. So I'm just going to grab the mask, drop it right in there, and it creates a link. And now you can see, especially if I go into this mode, that we've now cut out that little space. Now, what you can also do is, if you right click on the cutter layer, go into Layer Properties, you can just hit inverted and it does the opposite. So this is how you would get that circle wipe effect, like with the Roadrunner looking at the camera, and then the circle comes in from the outside until the whole screen is black. So I'm just going to do that really quickly. For now, I'm just going to turn off the cutter layer, and you know what? I'm actually going to change this layer a little bit, because the black is not going to work, because the background is going to be black, so that'll just look silly. So we've got Roadrunner here. I don't remember what he looks like at all. There we go, that's perfect. I think that's beautiful. And then I'm going to turn this cutter back on, and inside this layer I'm actually going to add a peg so that I can animate it, and then come in here, and I'm also just going to drag this out a little bit. Both of these, I'm going to drag both of these out a little bit. Then I'm adding a keyframe right here, and at this keyframe I want the cutter to be gigantic. Oops, I'm in the wrong tool right now. So yeah, I want it to cover the entire screen. That's good enough. So at this point we can see everything, and then right here I want it to be, whoa, wrong thing. I want it to be much smaller so we can only see the Roadrunner's beautiful face. So now you can see that's being animated. So it gets smaller as it goes along. Now the last thing I'm going to do is just add a black background underneath all of this. And you know what, I'm also going to go into here and just grab my paint bucket tool and give this a green background. I guess I'm gonna have to do this first though. Whoa. I'm just doing this so that you can sort of, it'll show how everything works a little bit better. So there we go. And then I'm just gonna add a new drawing layer, call it black background. I'm gonna put it beneath everything else. You know what, actually, instead of that, I already have this color card here. I can just come in here, change these all to 0, and there we go, now that works. So, now when I play this, well, okay, actually it's not going to work because it can't render that quickly. But if I step through it frame by frame, you can see that that little circle is getting smaller and smaller, and it's covering up, well, not exactly covering up, but it's making everything outside of itself invisible. So it zooms in into that head, and everything else is gone. Alright, so that's a really simple way to use a cutter. After the intermission, I will show you how to use it for shading, for fancy ass shadows. Hey, welcome back from that beautiful intermission. So here we are in the project file for that silly walk animation. I have gotten rid of all the background stuff just because it overcomplicates things a little bit. And I'm just going to go through what I did to achieve this look. So I'm just going to get rid of everything. So this is the basic animation. I'll just run through it really quickly. We just have this woman walking on her hands holding some groceries. I did all of that first. you know, going through sketching and everything and refining everything. And I got this final product, and then I decided I wanted to put on some shadows. But of course, going through each and every frame and drawing in the shadows would be incredibly annoying. So instead, what I did was I created this layer called shading in this sort of dark blue purpley color. And I went in here and just drew it out, didn't pay any attention to the edges, and you can see it sort of wobbling around all weird like. And then I used a mask to get rid of that. So when you turn a layer into a mask, it actually makes that layer invisible. So what I had to do was take this original drawing, which is this one right here, this layer, color 1. I duplicated it entirely with all of its frames into this layer right here, which is called mask. And actually, if I remove that link, then you can see this mask layer is the exact same thing as this original layer right here. But then I took this shading layer, created a cutter inside of it, which is this right here, and then did I invert it? Yes, I inverted it so that you will only be able to see the parts of the shadows that are inside this form rather than the other way around. So then I took this duplicated layer right here called mask and dragged it onto here so that now when I make this cutter visible, all you can see is the shadows inside the form right here. So this is actually kind of cool. You can see like sort of this ethereal shadow form. I really like that. As opposed to the whole layer, which is what I have drawn right here. So of course what you just saw is that when I drag this mask layer onto the cutter mat, it makes it invisible, so that's why I had to duplicate it. So now when I bring that layer back in, you can see everything comes together and we have some shadows on top of our character. So I'll just really quickly play through the animation and you'll see the final product. There we are. And I hope this helped. If you have any questions, because this is pretty confusing, I always confuse myself when I'm trying to use the masks. Leave any questions in the comments, any suggestions for future videos, future things that you want to learn. Feel free to let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to be notified. See you in the next one.